Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, we're somewhere completely different today, doing something completely different. We are in Nowra and we're helping out glue pot shoe repairs. We're just doing a little bit on the side to help them out while we're on holidays. They repair all sorts of things, from shoes to bags and just about anything else that you care to think of along that sort of line. And today we're stripping down a couple of pairs of boots. So these are R.M. Williams boots. They're a little bit worn and scuffed, these ones, but they get some that look almost brand new coming through that have just need a resole. So because these are a quality made boot in the first place, it means you can do quite a lot to repair them. One of the things about these shoes is that the sole is actually stitched on around here. More modern boots like the ones I wear just have an injection moulded rubber sole on them, and you can't do much with them. Well, you can, but it's a lot harder to do anything with them. Now these ones have a rubber sole back here. They have a leather heel stack in here with a rubber non-slip on the bottom here, but you can see that it's pretty much been worn right through and it's going to start wearing away the heel stack. So if we do the work before we wear this right through, it's a lot less work. Once we start wearing these through, it's a lot more work to do. The other thing about this one is that it's already had a half sole replacement put on here. So this one's been repaired a couple of times already. We've got another one here, and it's a very similar boot, but this one has a leather sole on it. Now this is a very hard compressed leather they use, and it's a little bit slippery, but this used to be used on a lot of shoes, and this one also has had a half sole replacement put on it. Now both of these need to be fully resoled, so we're going to strip them down now. I'll show you how we take them apart, ready to be resoled. Okay, so this is the one with the leather sole and the leather half sole on it that we're going to start tearing down now. First thing we want to do is take off the heel here, or the rubber part on the heel. Just going to chuck it on the boot last here. These are just glued on, so with a pair of sort of pincery things, nail pliers. We're just going to peel that off. They come off pretty easily. You can see how worn that is on the back corner compared to up the front here. So that's worn out. Now, the next thing is we've got stitching all around here on the welt. This is the welt stitching. Some of it's coming undone. You can see underneath here where it goes round the outside of the sole. Most of them have worn through, but just to make sure, we're just going to take a knife and we're just going to trim around here. And we just want to cut the top off all of this stitching here. So we don't need to be too careful, but we don't want to cut our fingers and we don't want to cut through the layer underneath it. Or on this one, we don't want to cut 2 layers through. This sole here has actually been skived, so it's thinner at this end. And then the original piece has also got a taper on it, so they overlap a bit to make them sit nicely. So I'm just going to work around and cut all of these stitches. And then we can just, anything that hasn't been cut under here, we can just carefully run the knife under here. And I'm just going to, this takes a little while and a little bit of care, so I'm just going to carefully keep working away at this until I get this section off. Once you've cut all of these stitches, we use a little bit of acetone just to dissolve any glue, and then you can just sort of often work your way around and just keep pulling it off. Making sure we don't take too much of the inside out as well. So the heel stack here is layers of leather on this one because it's a good quality boot, and this is just nailed on, so it's a slightly violent process to get it off. We just need to try and get a crowbar little levery thing in between here. And we just work around and try and prise those nails out of it. So there's the heel stack. We've got 3 layers of leather in there and a bundle of nails around here. Next thing, we need to get these nails out. These are barbed nails, so they're quite hard to get out actually. So once we've got them to start moving here on the while it's held on the last, we just want to move it back a bit so the head's off the edge of the last, and then we can just tap them through like that. Oops. We also need to take this out from the inside. Then if we look down inside here, you can see the nail heads in there. We get a nice long pair of nail pullers and pull the nails out. So a reasonably long nail, and they've got ribs all down them to help them stay in. So I'm just going to work around and get the rest of them out now. Okay, so we've got some of the nails out. It doesn't matter if we don't get them all out, it's better if you can. Next we're going to finish taking off this piece of sole around here. Now normally we would do this piece first before we took any of the sole off, but because it had this half sole on here, we were able to take the front piece off before we'd taken the back off. So there's a bit more thread around here that we're going to cut next, and then we're just going to work this piece of sole here off. A little bit more magic acetone on the stitches to help break up the glue. And then we just work this piece off the same as we did the rest of it. And there's a piece in the middle here, bit of strengthening in the middle here with a piece of material over it. We just want to try and keep that on the bottom half of the shoe while we take the rest of this off. And just gently pry that off. So this bit is a cardboardy type product. Now I've still got a couple of nails in here that I couldn't get out, but they'll come out at this point too. So we just work around here and just open up this glue joint. Okay, I've got to work away at getting the rest of these nails out now. Now we've got the sole off these, we can see how the shoe's put together a bit better. So there's the piece of metal down the middle here, which I've always called a penny nail. I know there's other terms for it as well. Down the front here there's some cork to give you a bit of cushioning. This piece around here is the welt. So you've got a piece that's the inside of your shoe, so your foot sits on the other side of that. And you've got a piece of cloth here. You've got the outer that comes down and is nailed at the back here, and this piece of cloth. So the outer, the piece of cloth and the welt are all stitched together, and the sole goes over the top of that. So the last thing we've got to do before we can finish cleaning this up and gluing the new sole on is we've got to go through and get all of these little bits of thread out of all of the holes here. So I'll just put it back on the last, and we're just going to use a sharp knife and carefully trim around to cut as much of this off as we can without damaging this piece of leather here. And it takes quite a while. I'll come back and finish that later. Once we've trimmed these, take it off the last, and with a sharp pointy tool we want to just go through, try and get you in the light here, go through around here and dig out. This has actually got two different type layers of cotton in here, and we just want to clean out each one of the holes, get all of the old thread out of here before we and then when we've put the bottom on, we're going to re-stitch all of these. So it's quite a time consuming job by the time you get all the way around here. Okay, so here's another R.M. Williams boot that we've been working on. This one's had the new sole glued onto it already. The cork piece in here has been rebuilt. Now this is a rubber sole on this one, which means it's a fairly soft sole. If this was a leather sole, where the stitching goes around here, that would have to be drilled and grooved out. But with the rubber sole, you can just punch through reasonably easily with the awl when you're stitching it. Now, these boots all get hand stitched. A lot of boot makers will machine stitch them, but if you hand stitch them, you can get the stitching back through the original holes here. If you machine stitch it, you're not necessarily going to get it in the original holes, and you can only do this a couple of times before it just tears like a sheet of toilet paper along there. And then you've got a lot more work to do to pull everything back apart to put a new welt on and to rebuild the boot from even further back inside. So when we're doing this, we use two pieces of thread. We've got a light coloured piece on the top and a dark coloured piece on the bottom. We use the different colours so that we can see and make sure that we've got it pulled through right. We use a thing called an awl, which is got a wooden handle on, sharp point at that end, and a tiny little notch out of it just there. So I'll just put the camera down and hopefully somewhere you can see it. Oops. So when we're stitching, with the point of the awl, we find one of the last hole. We push the awl through. We pull the black piece, hook the black piece into the little notch, and we pull that up like that. We want to then pull that tight, and we thread the light piece through the black piece like that, and then pull the black piece down. Pull the light piece tight, and at the moment you can just see the top of the black stitch sticking out there. As we pull on that, we want to pull the loop through to about the middle of the shoe. So, whoop. So we want to pull it through so that we don't have any of the light thread on the bottom and we don't have any of the black thread showing on the top. This is called chain stitch, and it's a bit different to the saddle stitch that I'm used to doing. And we just keep going till we've got all the way around back to here.
This is called chain stitch?
So this sort of stitching is called lock stitch, not chain stitch, as I said before. Once I've stitched all around here, this will get the heel stack put back on and a rubber piece on the bottom of the heel here, and that gets nailed on from inside the boot, and then the sole gets trimmed up, and that's ready to go back to its long-term owner. I believe these boots are about 20 years old and they're still in pretty good condition. I hope you've learnt something from this little video, and can I encourage everybody, especially when you're out on holidays, take any opportunity you've got to go and learn something completely different, particularly some of these old skills that really aren't done much anymore. You may never get to use it again other than to say, I can drive a pair of Clydesdales or a bullock wagon or something strange like that. But it always makes for a good story, and you will be surprised how often these skills are adaptable to something else you're doing later on. Thanks also to Louise and Matthew from Glue Pot Shoe Repairs for teaching me these new skills. I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!